Good morning, friends. Yesterday we addressed a common misconception that Satan is the king of hell, that he resides in hell, and that's where he launches his attacks from and such. Well, today I'd like to address another misconception concerning Satan and the demons that's often communicated to us in movies and other forms of entertainment. And that's the idea that Satan, or demonic things in general, they always depict themselves as really being horrible, unsettling, and terrifying. Demons are immediately thought of being scaly reptilian creatures with bat-like wings, and that if they possess someone, then the person's eyes change color in very sinister and obvious ways, and stuff like that. And the reason I want to address this matter is because if we allow ourselves to think about demons and the enemy in general in this way, we tend to be on guard against the wrong kind of thing, and which means that the enemy can actually attack us in ways that we're not ready to defend. Because again, the scriptures speak very clearly on this particular issue, and there is immediate application for God's people here, which is why I want to address it. For instance, in 2 Corinthians 11:13, the Apostle Paul is addressing the issue of false apostles and false teachers in the church, and so he writes, "For such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no surprise if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness." So Paul is warning the Corinthians that just because a person looks or appears to be righteous, or quote unquote looks to be good on the outside, on the surface level, that doesn't mean they actually are. We need to make sure that they are speaking and teaching that which is aligned with God's actual truth. Because if they're not, then it doesn't matter how nice they are, how generous they are, or how eloquent they are. It doesn't matter how they make us feel. If they are not teaching and preaching God's truth, then they are false teachers, they are the enemy, and they must be rejected. And to give a case in point as to why the people need to look deeper than the surface, Paul reminds the people that even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. In other words, Satan is the biggest wolf in sheep's clothing there is. Now, he is the arch enemy, but wherever possible, he will make himself look like one of the good guys, one of your allies. And to use Paul's own illustration again, if you were to have a dream, a vision, whatever kind of supernatural experience, and this angel of light approaches you, or maybe I should say an angel of light approaches you, well, until that angel speaks and either confirms God's truth fully or subverts it in any way, then the simple fact of it being an angel of light indicates nothing about who it truly is, what side that spirit being is actually on. Because again, Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. And Paul says, therefore, that we shouldn't be surprised that Satan's servants do the same. Now, the immediate context is talking about false teachers disguising themselves as messengers of righteousness, but the same principle would certainly apply to demons who are also servants of Satan. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that we have this notion due to myths and legends and popular media that demonic things are really quite easy to point out. Just look for the guy with the scales and the horns. Just wait for that creepy, cold, terrifying feeling to come, and a demon is close by. But no, the truth is that while the demons can manifest themselves and cause terrifying things to happen, just think of some of the various encounters Jesus had with the demons, of course, but we have to realize that that's not the only way that demons or even Satan himself operates. Just think back to the garden. Satan came to Eve in the form of the serpent, which said, well, they have scales. Well, it was a little bit different at that point. The mythos had not been developed yet. And the serpent, a snake, would just be another creature in the garden. So as far as that goes, because he actually came, or seemed to come, as something of a sympathetic figure. In his deception, he made it seem like he came in order to right a wrong, to reveal to Eve that she had been unjustly prevented from being all that she could be. That she could be like God, and how wonderful would that be? But God was preventing her by the limitation that he put on her, and how horrible was that? So Satan was presenting himself as a good guy, as a helpful person, so to speak. But we know that he was lying and that he is a liar. As Jesus says in John 8, when Satan, lies, he speaks out of his own character or according to his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies. And that's how Satan and the demons operate. They operate according to lies. And what is a disguise, no matter what kind it might be, what is a disguise but a lie that takes visible form, or, however the disguise works. Satan and the demonic, the demons disguise themselves as angels of lights and servants of righteousness. They don't always immediately terrify, because sometimes the best way they can accomplish their goal is to make people feel really good, not feel really bad, to make people feel liberated rather than oppressed, like we see in the movies. And I don't just mean appealing to a person's senses through, sinful sexual gratification or other similar feelings and sensuality-based temptations, but rather the enemy will make people feel good, also in the sense of feeling uplifted or enlightened, or even giving them a sense of peace, if those things will serve their purposes for the moment. Now, forgive me if this is a repeat, as I'm sure that it actually is, that I've told the story at some point in a devotion, hopefully a while back and not too recently, but I do have one of my own experiences that illustrates this, because I was invited to my brother's church some years ago to preach. They were doing a sermon series answering tough questions from the congregation, and on this occasion the question that I was supposed to answer was something to the effect of how to tell between evil spirits and good spirits, and that general idea there. And the answer that I gave was what I've kind of already alluded to here, is that if it's an angel, then they will confirm God's truth. And it's a demon if they were to deny or cast doubt on God's truth. And after that message, I had a lady approach me to tell me about this wonderful experience that she had. That's how she phrased it. And so she told me that a few days after her mother passed, her mother's ghost appeared to her and told her that she was just fine, that she was happy and not to worry about her. Well, we I wanted to be kind to the lady and everything, so I didn't get into everything immediately with her right there, but we know that there are no such things as ghosts in the way we really usually understand that, in terms of disembodied human spirits, because the scriptures tell us that it's given for man to die once and then to face judgment. So human spirits do not hang around on the earth after they die. They either go to heaven or they go to hell, and that means that the spirit this woman was seeing was not a ghost. It was either a demon or it was an angel, because those are the only two options left. Unfortunately, I could only conclude that it was a demon, because I talked to my brother, who was her pastor, about things afterward, and I asked if the mother that had passed away, if she was a Christian or not. And he informed me that sadly she was not a Christian, nor did she even have any pretense to being a Christian. Faith was just simply not a part of her life, and she never claimed that it was. No confession of faith, no profession of submission to Christ, no repentance, and so on. Which means that this spirit, this demon, approached the daughter in the form, the guise, the disguise of her mother, in order to deceive her about the final destination of her mother. And now this woman is fully convinced that her mother is in heaven and is happy. And the reason that's dangerous, it's not just because I want to burst her bubble or make her really sad to think that her mother is not in heaven, but there's a real danger here, because now this woman believes that she the only thing she needs to do to also go to heaven is just to be like her mother was, to just be a sweet, caring person, and she'll go to heaven. Because obviously, based on her experience, her understanding of her experience, it worked for her mother. Her mother's in heaven because her mother told her she was. And so she has this heartwarming experience to prove that all you have to do is I just got to be like my mom and everything will be okay. And so that demon convinced this woman by using the thought of her mother, and so there's nothing sacred with demons, with the enemy. They will take whatever will pierce you to your heart and use your emotions. They'll use it against you. And that's what this demon did. He used the guise of this woman's mother to convince her that she does not need to trust in Christ for salvation. She does not need to be redeemed from sin. All she has to do is live a good life and be nice to people like her mother did, and she'll be fine. In other words, this demon used a sweet and uplifting experience to get this woman to feel comfortable, even as she ignored the actual way of salvation. And based on the fact that Paul says that Satan masquerades as an angel of light and his servants do similar, that means that the enemy's most effective attack is not the full frontal attack of straightforward terror that we so often see depicted in movies. No, it's the deception that makes the person feel good, feel comfortable, even as they continue to mosey down the path that leads straight to hell. And we need to be aware of that, because the enemy is spoken of most often in terms of deceit and trickery, of lies and disguise, angels of light and wolves in sheep's clothing. And so we cannot depend on the outward look of things, nor can we depend simply on the way things make us feel. We must depend on the truth. As James says, to submit ourselves, humble ourselves before God, and of course a massive part of that is submitting ourselves to the truth, his truth, because he is the God of truth. And we do that, and then we can spot the enemy to resist him. And when we do that, he will flee. But we need to know and rely on the truth above all else, and understand that the enemy's main tactic is not terror, but trickery, disguise, and deceit. So friend, brother, sister, be on your guard by holding firmly to the truth, holding firmly to the truth, okay, and rejecting anything that is not according to that truth. And in that thought, please, friend, have a good and godly day, and Lord willing, I will see you soon.